Rediscovering Yourself After 65. Who am I outside of being a parent? We now are no longer busy taking our children to school, no longer have long days of going to work and then coming home to cook, clean, stay up late and wake up early like decades ago. The role of father, mother, grandfather, grandmother is still there but no longer occupies our days like before. And so a question begins to knock on the door of our minds. Besides being a parent, a grandparent, who else am I? Do I have anything that belongs to me? I believe that, if you are watching this video, perhaps in your heart you have had a moment like that. Me too. We have gone through so many years, spent our whole lives caring for, loving and sacrificing for our family. But when everything has settled down, when our children have grown up and have their own lives, when work is no longer the center of our days, somewhere deep down, we begin to feel a void that we cannot easily name. Sometimes it is a longing. Sometimes it is confusion. Sometimes it is a vague feeling. That is not wrong or unusual. On the contrary, it is a sign that you are entering a new chapter, a valuable and potential stage to live for yourself, understand yourself, and love yourself again. Rediscovering yourself after the age of 65 is not a matter of rebellion or finding your past youth. It is a gentle but profound journey to understand yourself better, take care of your inner self, and explore aspects that we may have put aside for decades, thinking it is not the right time, or I don't have time for that. We will discuss and analyze that in more detail today. Imagine this: your life is like a mountain. Youth is when we climb uphill, trying to reach a certain point in work, family, or achievement. And when we reach the top, it continues. That is when we sit down, look back at the whole scene, look back at the journey we have traveled, and feel to not only live for others, but also live for ourselves. But to do that, we must start by asking ourselves, who am I really, apart from the roles I used to have? Now, let's come to the first point, which is why many people feel empty after their children grow up. Have you noticed that when children grow up, get married, and move out, the house suddenly becomes larger? It is still the same space, but there are fewer people at meals, less laughter, and time suddenly becomes longer. Many people told me that they felt empty after their children left the nest. Some of my friends in New York once compared that feeling to being a suitcase that had accompanied them on a long trip, but now it was put back in the corner of the closet. Still intact, but no one needed it. It sounds sad, but it's actually a very common feeling. I call it the role shift. It comes gently but with a powerful force. For decades, you've been the busy mom who cooks, the dad who drives the kids, the grandma who tells bedtime stories. But when those roles are no longer regular, you find yourself feeling lost. It's not a loss, but a reminder that it may be time to take on another role, perhaps one you loved when you were younger, or one you never had the chance to explore, the role of an artist, a writer, a lifelong learner, or simply someone who slows down and appreciates each day. Interestingly, many modern psychological studies show that the period from 65 to 75 years old is one of the times when people are most able to look back on themselves. A study from Stanford University also calls this the decade of inner revelation. When the outside noise is reduced, the mind begins to have space to listen to itself. So, if you feel a little lost, it is not a negative thing. It is an opportunity for you to start the journey of rediscovery. The second point I want to share is that the feeling of not knowing who you are anymore is actually not as scary as you think. It is just a pause, so you can ask the same questions again but with a fresher perspective. Think back to the busy years. Did you ever dare to think about learning a new instrument, writing a book, or simply joining a dance class, pottery class, painting class at the community center? It is not that you did not want to. It is just that at that time, all priorities were for family. Now, when the space of time has opened up, you can do it for yourself. And that is the opportunity for you to find, or in other words, find a part of yourself that you have forgotten. I once met an old lady in San Francisco, 72 years old, who started learning to play the cello because she heard the music in a movie and wished that someday I could play an instrument like that. From then until now, she has waited nearly 50 years. And when she started, she felt as young as if she was in her 20s. The last point in this section, and also the one that I believe many of you are feeling, is, if you have signs such as feeling empty sometimes, thinking about an old dream, or simply asking yourself, what else do I want for myself, then congratulations, you are ready to rediscover yourself. You may not know where to start, but that thought alone is a very clear signal. It's like a little sprout sprouting from the ground. With just a little light and care, it will grow very quickly. Let's think about the following 3 things as a small exercise before we move on to the next part. 1. Think about something you used to love to do when you were young, something you didn't pursue for many reasons. 2. Think about something you've never tried but have always been curious about. 3. Write down an answer to the question, if I weren't a parent, who would I be? Just thinking about those 3 things, you've already taken the first steps in this journey. If you feel sympathetic to the above sharing, please leave a line of thoughts in the comment section. I always look forward to hearing your story, and who knows, what you tell can be a word of encouragement for someone else who is also finding themselves. You know, there's something interesting that I've noticed when talking to people my age. Everyone thinks they need a big plan to change. But in reality, what makes a journey meaningful is not the grandiose first step, but the fact that you know how to start with what you have, where you are, with an open heart. When you ask yourself who you are beyond your role as a parent, that's when you start to look at yourself not through the reflection of your children, your job, or your daily busyness, but through what makes you alive, vibrate, and connect with life in a deep way. And one of the most obvious ways to discover that is to find joy in seemingly small things. Remember the third point we talked about earlier, about signs that you're ready for a journey of self-discovery? So now, let's continue together, learn specific, close and practical ways for you to start the journey. I will share with you 3 doors, 3 directions that can help you gently step into a new world within yourself. And who knows, behind one of those 3 doors, you will find your very own me that you have kept silent for so long. The first door, which sounds the simplest but is easily overlooked, is curiosity. Many people think that curiosity is for youth, the age of discovery, of the desire to learn. But you know, science has proven that the human brain never stops developing if we keep our curiosity. A study from Harvard shows that in people over 65 who still keep the habit of asking questions, learning new skills, the brain area related to memory and positive emotions is still very active. In other words, curiosity not only helps you live happily, but also keeps your brain younger. I remember a friend named Linda, 68, living in Oregon, a former math teacher. After retiring, she started drawing. At first, it was just a few scribbles in a notebook, then gradually, she joined an online watercolor class. She told me, "I don't think of myself as an artist, but every time I color, I feel strangely peaceful. It's like I'm a 10-year-old girl again, painting in the afternoon sun." You see, curiosity doesn't have to be something big. It can be a new recipe you heard on TV, a pottery class at the community center, a small camera you use to capture the sunset behind your house. The important thing is, you allow yourself to do it not for anyone else, not to prove anything, but simply because you enjoy it. The second door can open something even more special, which is reconnecting with the things that once moved you. In our busy lives, we often put aside our personal interests and passions, thinking it can be done later, it's not the right time yet. But if you listen, you will find that there is always a very soft whisper in your heart about the things you once dreamed of, liked, and were passionate about. Some people used to like writing diaries, but then forgot because they were too busy. Some people used to love baking, but then because they didn't have enough time, they let it pass like a faint memory. If you are in a period when you have more time and less direct responsibilities, isn't this the time for you to return to those things? I once met a 74-year-old man in California who, after his wife passed away, was very quiet, barely talking to anyone. Until one day, his daughter gave him a small ukulele with a note that said, "You used to say you liked the ukulele when you were young but never learned. Now it's time, Dad." And you know what? In just 6 months, he not only learned to play the ukulele but also taught it for free to a group of seniors at the local church. It was music that brought him back to life, and most importantly, brought him back to himself. The third door is also something I want you to think about more carefully, which is daring to live slowly and listen to your inner self. It sounds simple, but have you noticed that we often get used to working, forgetting to listen to our feelings, to listen to what we need, what we want, what we crave? Many seniors, when they retire, rush to find extra work, babysitting, gardening from morning to evening, not because they don't have a choice, but because they are afraid of the emptiness of sitting still. But it is in the quiet that you can hear your heart most clearly. You can start by sitting by the window every morning, holding a small notebook, and writing down 3 things you are feeling. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. Just be honest. You might write, "I feel lonely. I feel regretful. I crave a hug." Or you might write, "I am grateful that my back doesn't hurt today. I am glad that the sun is shining this morning. I want to call an old friend." When you allow yourself to slow down and be honest with your feelings, you will begin to understand yourself better. And from that understanding, new desires will be born. It might be the desire to travel alone for the first time. It might be the desire to try writing a memoir. It might be simply sitting quietly for 10 minutes every morning. Nothing is too small. Because each of these seemingly small things brings you closer to yourself, outside of the role of parent and the responsibilities that have defined you for so many years. We've talked about 3 doors: curiosity, reconnecting with old passions, and slowing down to listen to yourself. Maybe you'll open one first. Maybe you'll try all 3. Or maybe you're not ready yet, but something is stirring in your heart, and that's enough. Before I end this section, I want to invite you to share your feelings one more time. Which of the 3 do you feel closest to? Have you ever liked something, had a dream, but never expressed it? Try writing it in the comments, as a small commitment to yourself. Now, let's move on to the final part, where I'll share ways to sustain that journey of rediscovery in a way that is lasting, meaningful, and most importantly, happy. How to keep that fire from going out. How to make this journey of self-discovery not just a moment of excitement and then extinguished. I have thought about it a lot. Because I myself have experienced that feeling, enthusiastic at first, then confused halfway. But what I have learned is that for such a journey to become a real part of our daily lives, we do not need to try too hard, we just need to nurture it gently and regularly. Like watering the plants every morning, not pouring a big bucket of water and leaving it for many days. And so that you can keep that flame burning, I want to share with you 3 things about 3 simple but lasting secrets that have helped many people maintain joy, inspiration, and attachment to themselves on this journey of rediscovery. The first thing that you may not expect is to build a purposeful new rhythm of life. Many people after retirement share with me, "I want to be free, no longer bound by time." And that is absolutely true, but freedom does not mean leaving yourself to drift. When you no longer have to take your kids to school or get to the office on time, you can feel disoriented without some kind of rhythm keeping you grounded in the present. A friend of mine, James from North Carolina, told me that after a few months of retirement, he felt like he was drifting away, every day a blur. until he created a new schedule: a 30-minute walk in the morning, reading at noon, gardening in the afternoon, and studying Spanish online with a group of other seniors in the evening. He said that the regularity made him feel alive again. "I'm not busy, but I have a reason to wake up every morning." You can start your new rhythm with just a small habit, like writing a daily emotional journal, going to a coffee shop every Tuesday, or making a schedule to call an old friend on Sunday morning. That rhythm doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be dense, but it does need to be present so that you feel like you're still moving forward, even if it's just a small step. The second thing that many people often miss is finding a walking community. Humans are not made to live alone. Even if you are an introvert, the feeling of being seen, accompanied, and shared is always something that nourishes the soul. I once attended a meeting of a small group in Seattle called New Chapters, where a group of people over 65 learn to write poetry, share life stories, and sometimes simply sit together and drink tea and talk about the past week. A woman named Rose, 70, who lives alone after her husband passed away, told me, "I don't need anyone to take care of me, but I need someone to remember me every Thursday." Just that sentence made me cry forever. You can find a community like that anywhere: a group to learn music, a book club, a yoga class in the park, or even an online forum where people of the same age share stories with each other. The important thing is that you take the initiative to connect. Don't wait for others. You are the one to initiate. If you can't find the right group, create it. A weekend coffee group, a morning walk group, a monthly cooking class. Don't be afraid if there are only 2 or 3 people at first, because the magic of community is, once it is rooted in sincerity, it will grow and flourish. Finally, the most important thing is to allow yourself to constantly change, to constantly learn. We often think that old age is a time of settling down, when we should stop changing. But that has never been true. A Stanford study shows that people over 65 who continue to learn new skills are 3 times more satisfied with their lives than those who do nothing. And that skill doesn't have to be technology or learning a lot of luxury things. Just learn to forgive. Learn to say thank you. Learn to laugh more every day. And there are many simpler things than that. You know, I once met an 87-year-old woman in Texas who learned to play video games with her grandson. She said, "I don't need to understand all the buttons. I just need to see my grandson smile." That is also learning, changing to connect. It is a kind of rebirth without noise. Allowing yourself to change does not mean denying the past. It is accepting that you are still growing up even though you are old. You are not framed in the image of a father, a mother, a husband, a wife. You are a person who is still living, learning, loving, disappointed, hoping. And every time you dare to step out of your old role, you touch that part of yourself, deeper. Maybe it has never had a name and has never been called. If you have come this far, I want to send you one message: you are never too late to start over. There is no predetermined map for old age except the map you are drawing every day. And if someone asks you, "Who are you besides being a parent?" you can smile and say, "I am a beginner. I am writing a new chapter in my life. I am learning to live as myself, without any role to define me." Leave a comment below if you feel something in your heart has been touched. Share if you have ever had a forgotten dream, a passion that is being rekindled, or simply something you want to do, starting tomorrow. I look forward to reading your shares. If you find this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, because there are many things we will explore together in the following videos. Wishing you a happy and healthy life, living true to yourself at any age. Goodbye, and see you soon in the next chapters of this emotional journey.